Sweeny Murti, Sweeny, Zach Gelb here, Shovio.com. Thank you for joining me, and how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Anytime, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on, and mazel tov, by the way, on the birth of your new girl. Are you getting any sleep between watching your Philadelphia Phillies in the postseason, covering your Yankees, and then going home to a screaming baby girl? Are you getting any sleep, Sweeny? I'm worried for you.
She doesn't scream at all, Zach. She's the best baby in the whole world.
Well, that's what every parent says.
Well, no, she'll scream at some point, but she hasn't been screaming too much yet. She's been good about letting Daddy get her sleep.
Well, that's good to know. Let's go to last night's game. A.J. Burnett, it was a game that he needed, that $85 million contract. He is a Yankees bust, but he pitched well last night. Talk about the performance for number 34.
Yeah, he was fantastic. It seems like we always want to qualify it because it was everything he does. Well, this was good for A.J. Burnett. This was better than it used to be. Listen, this was a good performance. He got saved early on, no doubt about it. If the ball in the first inning gets by Curtis Granderson, it's probably the last pitch he throws, because 3 runs are in, maybe even 4. Remember, that ball was hit so hard that the outfielders don't have time to get in position to back up. If it gets past Granderson, Kelly's speed, that might be an inside-the-park grand slam. So he got helped by the defense right there, and then settled in nicely, found his feel to the curveball, and really got some big outs with it. And he pitched great. You know, he teases us all the time with what he's capable of. And last night wasn't even what he's capable of. I mean, there's still so much more there, but I think that we've tended to, over the years, I think this is the mistake we've always made with Burnett. You know, after watching him for 3 years, we've tended to believe that the contract he got paid, the money he's getting paid, should make him a better pitcher. It doesn't. The Yankees paid for the pitcher that he is, probably a little bit better than this, but he's been a 500 pitcher. And, last night he gave you something that, you definitely can hang your hat on.
Curtis Granderson, as you mentioned, that first play in the first inning where the bases were loaded and he made that unbelievable catch, and then he had another great catch later on in the game when Rafael Soriano was on the mound. He also had an RBI. Talk about the potential MVP of the league in Curtis Granderson. He's just really on a run right now.
Yeah, and the defensive aspects of both of those two. I mean, those two catchers are going to go down as terrific plays in Yankee history if this ends up being a run. If this ends up being something that the Yankees, remember, Yankees are basically a couple of inches from elimination if that ball gets past them. And then the other one is just a terrific diving play that halts the rally, ending the 6th inning. If the Yankees can win Game 5, move on, ALCS, listen, if they won the pennant, those are pennant-saving, clinching plays right there. I won't go as far as to put it in this category, but I think you'll understand what I mean. And I won't put it in the category, but it's the player involved and everything around it. But Derek Jeter's flip play in 2001, it helped the Yankees in a series where they were down 2-0. They end up winning that game, end up winning that series, go to the World Series. If the Yankees don't win that series, I don't think we ever even come close to putting that play on the same level as it is right now. I'm not going to put Granderson's play on that level, but my point is I think you'll come to see that play as a great play in this season and a very meaningful play in a postseason run if the Yankees go on further than this.
My dad and I were having this discussion, the producer of this program, Bob Gelb, as you know very well, and he said that was one of the best catches he's ever seen in the postseason. And I said to him, it was good, but you can't equate it yet because you don't know if the Yankees even won that series. But the spot that it was in, it was definitely imperative in that game. But let's compare it to the Endy Chavez catch that he had against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Mets ended up losing that game. Which catch was better, the Granderson catch or the Endy Chavez catch?
They're both terrific. I think the Chavez one is unbelievable because, he pulled a home run back. The Granderson one, different circumstance. The second one especially. He had a great lead. I think a better example, if you're going to use Met history, and Mr. Bob Gelb would remember this when he was actually alive for this one, unlike us, Zach. the catches that Tommy Agee made in the '69 World Series. Any Mets fan who's watched those highlight reels and seen those, I think those are probably more comparable and just as relevant because that's a series that the Mets won. So I think it's a better historical comparison. But it might end up being like Andy Chavez. You might end up looking at it as a great catch, and in the end, the Yankees don't win. So I think we have to wait to see really where it's a great play no matter what. But as far as how we rank it, it's all in the context of it. If the Giants don't win the '54 World Series, they would really care about Willie Mays' catch as much. It's all in relation to where the team goes.
We're talking to Sweeny Murti, the Yankees beat reporter for WFAN in New York. And Sweeny, let's get to ALDS Game 5. You're going to have Ivan Nova against Doug Fister. Do you think there'll be any early jitters on the mound for Ivan Nova, the Yankees rookie?
I'm sure there's got to be some. I mean, the place is going to be packed and probably rocking pretty good for Game 5. You just have to, the thing you remember is that Nova didn't let Game 1 bother him, or the continuation of Game 1 when he put up a very good start for the Yankees. He joked with us before his start for that game that the last time he was nervous on the mound was last year when he went up and in on Jose Bautista, and Bautista took a couple of steps towards the mound. He didn't know what he was going to do. That's the last time he was nervous. Nova has a very strong confidence about him. Now, not to say that can't get shaken if he's finds himself first and second, one out, and Miguel Cabrera is up in the first inning. So I think a lot of it will depend on that just the early inning of being able to get through it. Getting him a lead would probably be a great thing for him. It's one thing the Yankees have been good at. They've been good scoring some runs for him all year long, and he doesn't give up leads very often. So I think if they're able to do that, he'll be okay. He's been the beneficiary of some good run support this year, and some early runs against Fister would definitely help his cause tomorrow night.
This is the second time Ivan Nova will be facing up against the Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers now have a little bit more body of work on him. Do you think having him out on the mound for the second time facing these Tigers bats will generate a little bit more offense?
I think it's always a factor with a team when you've got. It's different when you've got guys like Sabathia, Burnett, or Verlander, guys who've been around the league. It doesn't matter how many times you see them in the series. You know how good they are, and you know what they've got. There's not really any mystery involved, but there was mystery involved the first time for the Tigers facing Nova. So there might be a difference. They can see in their scouting reports. And there's a lot of advanced scouting done before the playoffs. Trust me, these guys have advanced guys out in force. Usually for about the last 3 weeks of the season, maybe even longer, teams will send 2 scouts out to follow every team that is a potential playoff opponent, and break down tendencies and really break it down a lot more than they do even in the regular season, and get a good feel for it. So the Tigers have had that advantage of getting a scouting report of Nova, but now they have something. Now they have a visual to go with it. And the key, I think, Russell Martin mentioned, the key was his slider, which he didn't even throw at the beginning of the year. In spring training, he didn't have a slider. But he started to develop and throw it a lot more during the course of the season. And if you remember the second time Miguel Cabrera came up, which is actually the first time he came up against Nova because of the rain situation, Nova struck him out on a real good slider, and that was the type of pitch that's how effective that pitch can be. When you can get a hitter like that and you can pull him on a pitch like that, I mean it's a very good pitch. So I think that'll be key for him. But yeah, I think that'll be part of that little cat and mouse thing that you see in the postseason, of a team getting a second look at a guy and saying, okay, now we kind of know what he's about. Let's see what we can do with him.
If things go south tomorrow for Ivan Nova, what's the availability of CC Sabathia? Can the big man actually be on the mound tomorrow?
Yeah, I gotta think he's got, what's Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, I gotta think he's got at most 2 innings in him, but I would think it'd be more like 1 if you needed him to. You've got Phil Hughes still, who gave you 1 inning in Game 4, and he'll probably give you a few more pitches there. Girardi said before Game 4 that Hughes could probably give him about 50 pitches. Now that he pitched the inning on Wednesday, I would knock that down a little bit. I would think, you get 30, 40 out of him. But Sabathia should be there in the event that he's needed. I would say once you get to the sixth inning, though, if you can get through the sixth inning, Zach, I think the Yankees know what they're going to do because David Robertson is very well rested. He has one inning in this series. Mariano Rivera has thrown 3 pitches in this series. You can get a combination of 9 outs from those two guys very easily, I think, and hold on to a lead if you've got it. So the only way I think Sabathia becomes a factor here is if Nova gets knocked out early or if it ends up extra innings. It's not like a team that has a lot of lefties that need to be combated. The Yankees decide they only needed one left-handed reliever, Boone Logan. I could see a situation if this is lefty heavy. Let's just say take the next series for example. If the Yankees advance, if this was a Game 7 situation in the ALCS and the Yankees need to get Josh Hamilton out, I could see if Sabathia is not starting that game, I could see him. I could see him coming out of the pen for a batter like that. But I don't think the Tigers really have anything that matches up that way.
We're talking to Sweeny Murti, and Sweeny, a few more questions right before we let you run. A-Rod and Teixeira have not been great so far in this postseason, although it is very early. Do you think we'll see any lineup changes from Joe Girardi with these two?
None. I think you'll see the exact same lineup. The one thing that Joe Girardi and these players try to recognize is that it's 2, 3, 4 games. It's not a great a deal of sample size to start judging, how you shuffle the lineup around. I understand the stakes are higher, but I don't think they feel the need to change the lineup around too much and start throwing guys into a panic here or there. Girardi shows a lot of faith in his players all year long, and part of that is definitely keeping them in their spots. You're right. A-Rod is not. A-Rod had a couple of good swings, I thought, in Game 4. Ended up with a couple of singles at the end. But it's been a struggle for him, really since he came back from the knee surgery that he had right over the All-Star break. He played less than 20 games to finish out the year, hit under 200, only had 3 home runs after the All-Star break. So not, just not a consistent swing out of A-Rod, which that was a hope that when he got the surgery, it was a hope that by the time this part of the year rolled around, he wouldn't be affected by the knee and he'd be swinging good again. Well, they keep telling us he's healthy. Now we just have to see it. He took some good swings in Game 4. We'll see if that carries over. Teixeira has been the victim of, he had 3, I thought, really good swings in Games 3 and 4 and got 0 hits off of them. 3 line drives that turned into outs, and that you can make something out of that during the course of the season. In the postseason, it's just just get the hits any way you can. But he definitely needs to start turning things around, or else he's going to get the A-Rod treatment. A-Rod went through the postseasons of 05 and 06 and 07 with almost 0 contribution and was taking a task for it. And Teixeira now his 3rd Yankee postseason. They won the first year, but if it's 2 years here where they don't win and he doesn't produce, I think a lot of the burden is going to start to fall on him because he's now the superstar slugger in his prime. A-Rod with the injuries and falling into a part of his career where we're almost expecting a decline, I think the burden is going to shift on Teixeira a lot more.
Now, if the Yankees win, they'll be going to host the Texas Rangers in a 7-game series. Winner will go to the World Series. Do you think Girardi will go to 4 starters? And if he does go to 4 starters, whom would they be?
Yeah, I think he's locked into the same 4 starters that he has right now. I haven't figured out the days based on what happens with tomorrow. I think you have to see who pitches when tomorrow. But I think he's definitely locked into his 4 guys with Sabathia and Nova. Burnett, and who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
Garcia,
thank you. It's hard to think of them right now. I got too many names on my mind. I think all 4 of those guys are definitely in line. There is a slight chance, I'll tell you very slight, that Bartolo Colon could be considered again here. but I think they'd have to see something in his side work to make them believe that his fastball is back and that the rest they've given him is a factor here, because they determined that with his outings at the end of the season that, all the zip was gone from his fastball, and what you saw earlier in the year you weren't seeing anymore. So I'd say very slight chance. It all depends on what he's showing in his side work, but I would tell you that Girardi's probably going to go with his 4 starters that he has now, and the order will really depend on what, really I think how Game 5 goes and who has to be used then.
If Cologne's not in the rotation, does he at least find himself a spot on this roster, or will he be sitting at home once again?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that he will be on the roster. I mean, the Yankees have 11 pitchers here, and I don't think they'd go with any more than that. And I don't think it would. If anything, they would have to drop somebody else here and think that they'd take another left-hander, Raul Valdez, who pitched pretty well at the end of the season, but they might be considered as a second lefty. But I would think they'd have to shuffle somebody off the roster in order to put him on like that. So I would think that the chances are very slim that unless Cologne's ready to pitch in the rotation, they decide they need to switch maybe Garcia out in favor of Cologne, which at this point I don't think they would. But that would be the only way I think Cologne could find himself on the roster.
Sweeny, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Best of luck tomorrow.
Anytime, Zach. Thanks for having me.